It has been 10 years since I got into soccer betting, and this is my 4th year of being profitable and making a full-time living since finally cracking the code. Every day I wake up and it still feels like a dream. Earning a 6-figure location independent income from soccer betting, I count my blessings. Welcome to this video. I'm JK Diego, also known as the pioneer of draw betting. In this video, I want to give you a quick summary of our betting system and also do a 2020 update to my most popular blog post written in 2018, which is titled How to Make $100,000 a Year Betting on Draws. If you're watching this from YouTube, you can check out that article on my blog. It has been read by tens of thousands of people. You see, after a decade of studying everything there is in soccer betting, I firmly believe that betting on draws is the only way to beat the bookies in the long run. So let's dive right into it. So first you may ask, why draws, right? Out of so many things you can bet within the sport of soccer or football for some of you, why draws? So to start off, firstly you have to understand the concept of value bets. So what are value bets? Very simply, value bets are bets where the probability of an outcome is actually greater than what the bookmakers' odds imply. So if you understand this, you know that if you want to be profitable over the long run, the only way to do that is to find value bets. And draws is the best example of value bets that I've come across over the past 10 years of studying the sport. So what I'm saying is that the probability of draws is actually greater than what the odds of your bookies are implying. So now that you know you have to get value bets, the next thing come to your mind would be, so how do you find these value bets? So I will start off by saying you don't want to do what the average person is doing. You really don't want to do what the masses are doing. Why is that so? You're going to ask me. Very simple. The average person who is into gambling, the average Joe who is gambling, is not profitable in the long run. He is making a loss, which is why the bookies are making so much profits every year. So first thing to keep in mind is that you want to do the opposite of what the herd is doing, right? So you want to find value bets that other people are neglecting. The average bettor don't think about when they are thinking what to bet. And draws are the best example of this. The normal person does not like betting on draws. Why? Because it's boring. If you're going out to the bar on a Saturday night to catch a game with your friends, you don't hope that it's a boring 0-0 draw. So that's not something that you're going to bet on. And the second thing is that the bookmakers themselves, they tend to price the odds of draw wrongly. They price the odds of draws way too high, especially in less popular, the smaller football leagues. And I will get to that later. You will see why it's so important that I emphasize the smaller, less popular leagues, not your EPL, not your Spanish La Liga. And the third thing is that soccer games in general, they end up in draws only about this 23 to 31% of the time. If you go and look at the statistics, you'll see that this is true. Around 23 to 31%. However, with my many years of experience and focusing on the right leagues to bet on, we can get our hit rate up to 35% or even 40% if you are using the cashing out strategy that I'm going to talk about later on. So just hold that thought at the back of your mind. So this is how we can be profitable. Now that you know you're going to bet on draws, but where are you going to find these draws? You're not going to bet on draws everywhere. So here I'm going to talk about the difference between the popular versus less popular leagues. So let's just look at some data that I have over here. If you look at the EPL, English Premier League, guess what's the percentage of draws over the past 3 years? I just got this data over the past 3 seasons. It was 19%, 26%, 22%. You want to look at Italy, right? Serie A. Guess what? It was 28, 22, and 21 for the most recent 3 seasons. In Germany, another big league, right? German Bundesliga, it was 24, 27, 24. So look at these numbers. These are not the numbers you want, right? All of them basically under 30%, way under 30%. So you're talking about less than 3 out of 10, right? In their 20s, under 30. Now let's look at some of the smaller leagues, probably more obscure leagues, leagues that you won't think of betting on usually. So you have in Spain, one of the lower leagues, Segunda B Group 3, right? The past 3 seasons we had 36, 37, 33. Above 30%. There are more. Another good example, Egypt, 35, 32, 30. Another example, South Africa, it was 33, 36, 35. And you can find many more examples, right? South America, you have Brazil, you have Argentina in the lower leagues, you have Colombia. Very good examples. You want to see places where you can easily get 30% more than that, which means that even if you close your eyes, you don't know anything about the sport and you just pick blindly, you're talking about more than 1 out of 3. So these are the odds that you want. And the interesting thing is that you may think that by focusing on the second half, these leagues where there's a very high draw ratio, the odds will be much lower. However, actually that's not the case. We are still able to get an average odds of around 3 on average for our draw picks. Why is that the case? Going back to what we discussed earlier, the bookies are notoriously bad at pricing draws, and normal people don't like betting on draws. So this is a classic case of market failure. There is a problem in the market and we take advantage of it. So now let's move on to talk about our actual betting systems. So now that you know we are betting on draws, you know we like to focus on certain leagues. What are the different systems that you can use to take advantage of it. So the first one is very simply flat stakes. This is self-explanatory, very straightforward. Most of our members in Team Diego, we like to do at least $100 every bet. So this is you can call it level staking, flat stakes, whatever you want to call it. $100 same stake on every one of our draw pick. And the second one that I'm going to go in greater detail later is what I personally have been using for the past 3-4 years. I call it the increasing stake system. So we'll talk about it later. But first, we are going to talk about cashing out. So for both systems, whether we are using flat stakes, $100 or increasing stake, most of our members start with $20, right? Starting with $20 on increasing stake. Whichever one we are using, we like to do cash out around the 85th minute, right? With the 85th minute cash out strategy, whichever one you are using. So let's talk about cashing out. Or if you are placing your bets on the exchange, it could be trading out for you. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use the term cash out. So first of all, why? I'm going to explain why. Why do we cash out our draws? Let's say if the game is drawing at around the 85th minute. Very simply because late goals are pretty common in soccer or football, right? So imagine the score is 1-1 at the 85th minute. If you don't cash out, a late goal could happen in the 88th minute, in the 90th minute, from either side, and it will ruin your draw, right? Remember, either side can score and your draw will be ruined. So to give you some perspective, in a typical month, we get about 40 draws out of about 115 games that we bet a month. So 40 out of 115, but here's the catch, as many as 15 to 20 games from the data that I have collected over the years. We have observed every month about 15 up to 20 games are lost due to late goals after the 85th minute. So guess what? Let's take 15. If you cash out those 15 games, 40 plus 15, you are getting 55, potentially 55 out of 115. Out of 115, you can get as many as 55 wins if you are cashing out at 85th minute. So the next question is, when do you cash out? Okay. So I said 85th minute, that's like a rule of thumb, right? Usually we just do it around 85 minutes if you're not watching the game. Alright, if you're watching the game or you're following the live updates, you can, exercise your discretion. One way is you judge from the live odds, live betting, in-play odds of what's happening. Could be one side has a red card, they are one man down. You may want to cash out earlier. Or if there's nothing happening, both sides are not really trying to score, just passing the ball around, you can probably just let the game run. You don't have to cash out 85 minutes. So if you're watching the game or you're following the live updates, feel free to exercise your own discretion. But most of the time, as a rule of thumb, if you don't have the time to follow the game, 85th minute is what we recommend. But one thing to take note is everyone likes talking about this these days, VAR, right? Video assistant referee. In some of the top leagues, right, in recent years they introduced VAR, which means games tend to be dragged longer. There's time delay during the game. So what used to be 85 minutes in the past, if in a game, if there's a 1 or 2 VAR incident, 85 could be dragged. It could be more like 88 minutes. You can get away with cashing out 88 minutes because later on there's going to be 6 minutes, 7 minutes of injury time. So for some of the top leagues, you may want to take note whether there's a VAR incident. And the last option you can do is auto cash out. So for some of the bookmakers, you may be able to set auto cash out before the game. So you can just set and forget. Usually people do 90%. So once your potential profits reach about 90% of the full amount, the game you will auto cash out. So for certain bookies, you can set it. So if you want to set auto cash out, 90% would be good. So the next thing that a lot of people ask me these days is, do you always cash out? So for this, it really depends on your personal situation. What is your bankroll? What is your risk appetite? How many loss can you afford to stomach? So for somebody with a smaller risk appetite, I say, well, if you feel comfortable cashing out every single time, as long as the game is drawing at the 85th minute, you can go ahead. For some members with really large bankroll, or like myself, we may only look for opportunities to cash out only after we lose 3 or 4 in a row, if we are talking about using the increasing stake system. After we have lost a few in a row, we may look for cashing out opportunities. So this brings us back to increasing stake system that I'm going to talk about. So this is the heart of my system, what I started using 4 years back and what I still continue doing these days. So basically what we do is, say we start with $20, right? $20, okay? We bet on the draw, the first game. If the game wins, average odds about 3, you get back $60, right? You continue betting $20 on the next game, so on and so forth. So what happens when you lose? With the increasing stake system, you are going to multiply your stake by 1.5 times after every loss, right? So if the first game $20 I lose, my second game I will do $30. Why? Because when you win $30 at the odds of 3, you get back $90, right? It covers your previous loss. So far you have bet $50 here, plus a $40 profit. And then on the third game, you go back, you reset back your stake to $20 and you continue the pattern. But if you lose second game at 30, you continue multiplying by 1.5 times, right? So the next one after that, 45. And then let's say you lose 3 in a row, the fourth game you get to 68, 102, and so on, right? The only thing to remember is that once you get the draw, you actually make a profit, because with the odds of 3 on average, you are going to be able to cover your previous loss plus a small profit. Then you go back to your starting stake, $20, once you have reset. So that's the gist of the increasing stake system. It has worked extremely well. You get really tremendous amounts of profits if you just be disciplined, stick to it, figure out what you're going to start with, multiply 1.5 times after each loss. So the next question that a lot of people like to ask me is dealing with bad runs. So if you are going to use the increasing stake system, in an ideal world, you can just multiply your stake by 1.5 each time you lose and go on and on and on. So you're not living in an ideal world, too bad. You have a limited bankroll. So some people want to know, how do you deal with, let's say, a freak run where you just go on to lose more than 10 games in a row. So besides cashing out, what we discussed earlier, cashing out by itself will be able to shorten many of those losing streaks so that you keep your stakes manageable. But besides cashing out, another thing you can do is some kind of stop loss. So this is new for this update, for this video. I haven't talked about it anywhere on the blog before today. So this stop loss, if you don't have an extremely large bankroll but you still want to use the increasing stake system, how are you going to deal with it? So one way that we've come across is that you switch to a flat stake after 10 loss. So let's stick with the example of $20, right? If you start with $20, your staking basically go like that. Let me just write it out. 20, 30, 45, 68, 102, 153, 230, 345, 518, 777, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Basically on the 10 game it will be about 777, right? So if you want to implement some kind of stop loss system to your staking strategy, after the 10 game 777, if you still lose this bet, on the 11th bet you continue with this stakes. So on the 11th bet you continue with 777 until you get the draw, then you reset back to 20 as usual. So the only difference is that you only increase to a certain point up to, let's say, level 10, and then you switch to flat stake. In the event of a bad run that you lose more than 10, you just continue with this amount until you get the draw. So let's say 11, 777, on the 12th game you still lose. On the 13th game, let's say you win on the 13th game, so you go like 12 loss. 777 times average odds of 3, you will get back 2331. So 2331. Okay, so for this series of 13 games, you will make a loss, right? You will make a loss. If you just do the math on this entire series, you will be at about negative 2.2k, right? So for this stop loss method, you absorb this loss of about 2k for this series. then you reset back to 20 after you get a draw, right? So why does this work? Because knowing that in the grand scheme of things, right, from our data doing this 3 years, for the past 3 years, we know that this kind of bad runs will happen on average once a year, right? Maybe twice a year, one time, 2 times a year. So if each time you run into this, you just accept a loss of 2 to 3K. And we know that in the course of a year, we make about, for $20, I'm talking about $20, starting with 20, increasing stake system. In 1 year, we make about $20,000 to $22,000 in profit, 22K. So if you're making that amount, can you absorb a loss of 2 to 3K once a year? Yes, you can, and you'll still come out of the year very profitable. So for those of you who do not want to let your stakes go up to really an unmanageable amount, something that going into the thousands, because you don't want to let it run into the thousands. Whether is it because your bankroll can't handle it, or you just don't want to get into the situation where you're betting thousands and thousands of dollars on a game. This is one way you can deal with it. So if you use this and apply this, you do the math, over a year, you'll still be profitable. So you have to be disciplined, stick to the plan, knowing that in the grand scheme of things, the key is that you are following through, right? You don't stop following the system after a bad run, or you'll be left with this. So that's the gist of how I've been making 6 figures a year in net profit over the past 3 years, every year, consistently. And I can tell you that after 10 years of studying everything really that is in the sport of soccer betting, this is the best way that you can actually make a profit in the long run and beat the bookies, right? In fact, I would not only say that this is the best way, I will say that this is the only way, right? Remember what we talked about, value bets. It's very, very difficult to find something to specialize in that is actually a value bet. Some people find different stuff to specialize in, whether they bet on corners or they want to bet on the number of red cards, whatever. They specialize in something, but because it is not ultimately not a value bet, in the long run, they are going to find it very difficult to remain profitable, even though it may be possible to be profitable in the short run. So draws, really, after all my experimenting in the last decade, right, there's no other way. And for the first 6-7 years, like many of you, I was losing thousands of dollars until I settled on this niche that I specialize in. So if you want to learn more, you can check out the detailed blog article. If you're not watching this from the blog, this is the URL. And also, we have a free Telegram channel. Some of you may not know what is Telegram, but it's a free mobile app that you can download on your phone, something like WhatsApp. You're using iPhone on the Apple Store or Google Play Store. Free app, just download Telegram, search Team Diego in Telegram. There's only one official channel. It should be around 1.2K subscribers up to at this point of time. increasing every day. So join us on Telegram for more info, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.